Thank you for joining us with the news on QTV. My name is Diana Sumbwe. We take a look at stories making headlines. The central bank has maintained the monetary policy rate at 9.75%. Economist Oliver Sasa says there is need for the country to come up with a clear debt management strategy. And UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema says his party is ready for unconditional dialogue. And now the news in detail. The Bank of Zambia has maintained the monetary policy rate at 9.75%. Briefing the press in Lusaka, Central Bank Governor Dr. Denny Kalyalia has attributed the decision to maintain the monetary policy to the inflation rate, the projection of between 6 to 8% target range, and the low private sector credit growth, among other reasons. Dr. Kalyalia says that the Monetary Policy Rate Committee has noted the containing the fiscal deficits within programmed levels remains a challenge as a result of rising external debt and associated debt servicing costs. He says in the second quarter of 2018, preliminary data indicates that the current account deficit widened to $453.8 million United States dollars from 302.7 million United States dollars in the previous quarter, owing to unfavorable performance of the balance of goods. Dr. Kalyalia adds that the fragility was also noted as an ongoing concern as non-performing loans remain high. The Bank of Zambia governor has further disclosed that the committee is also judged risks to the inflation rate outlook to be on the upside, but that the committee is ready to make changes to the policy stance should inflation rise above 6.8%.
But you see the service being provided. So all these are welcome developments, but at some point for us it's financial stability. So we still have to weigh in to find that they are not stabilizing the financial system as it were.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kalyalia is optimistic that the refinancing of Zambia's Eurobond by an unnamed Turkish company will be successful. He says the current economic challenges Turkey is experiencing cannot be the reason for the failure to refinance the Eurobond, as it is being done by a company and not the Turkish government. Dr. Kalyalia says the concern should be sourcing a financer who offers a cheaper price from the one that was obtained earlier.
It has to be looked at in our current case. Where is the Eurobond trading? I think the Eurobond is trading around 13% our Euro. So that's the real price that one will be negotiating, not the one which the coupon which was struck at when the loan was granted. So now, the Turkey or somebody else, I think you have to take into account that although they are having problems, it's not the government per se which is being brought into the picture. It's the investors, the business people. I don't think it's correct to say that if you have problems at home, you can't invest somewhere else. I don't think that's how life works. So there's still a possibility that you find some people who would want to invest somewhere else to get their money. It has to be looked at.
Economist Oliver Sasa says Zambia currently needs a clear debt management strategy to avoid ending up in a situation where the country will start panicking when the repayment of the contracted debt fails due in an interview with Q News. Professor Sasa says there is need for the country to plan adequately on how it will repay its debt, especially the sovereign debt. He adds that in future, the country should first of all come up with a debt repayment plan before it goes on to market borrow. Professor Sasas has noted that the government rarely focuses on how it will repay its debt each time it talks about borrowing. He has further noted the important need for government to always apply borrowed money in a way that secures repayment.
What we need is to have a very clear debt management strategy. Right now, the speed at which we've contracted debt, now we are talking about managing what we have already procured as sovereign debt. I think what's important is to ensure that we do not end up in a situation where we start panicking because we did not plan adequately on the repayment side of the equation. And I think this is really where the problem is. But perhaps lastly, we talk about repayment and we talk about debt. Rarely do we actually focus on, once we have procured the debt, the sovereign debt, how do we utilize the money? How do we apply those monies? Are we applying those resources in a way that will secure our repayment? In other words, are we investing in productive activities? What we need.
United Party for National Development UPND President Hakainde Hichilema says his party is ready for unconditional dialogue on a number of important issues that the country is facing. Mr. Hichilema says this is essential in order to return the country back to normality. He says among the issues the UPND believes need to be addressed include the restoration of the rule of law, respect of fundamental human rights, liberties and freedoms. Mr. Hichilema says other issues are the amendment of the Public Order Act, electoral reforms, and ending political violence in the communities. He notes that the country has been hurting for too long and that citizens are looking forward to politicians to sort out these and other issues for the greater good of everyone. The UPND leader adds that the UPND agrees to have a process of dialogue led by the three church mother bodies, namely the Council of Churches in Zambia, CCZ, the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops, ZCCB, and Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFC.
The United Party for National Development, UPND position on dialogue in our country. The United Party for National Development has been ready to dialogue without any conditions on a number of important issues that affect our country. We do believe that this is essential in order to return our country back to normalcy. Among the issues we believe need to be addressed include, number one, the restoration in the rule of law. Number two, respect for fundamental human rights, liberties and freedoms. Number three, amendment to the Public Order Act. Number four, electoral reforms. Number five, ending political, electoral and other forms of violence in our communities. The country has been hurting for too long and citizens are looking forward to us to sort out these and other issues for them to live a normal life. We are agreed to have the process of dialogue to be led by the three church mother bodies, namely the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops, ZCCB, Christian Council of Zambia, CCZ, Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, EFZ. We look forward to a meaningful, structured, and time-framed dialogue that should return our country back to order, peace and stability, which conditions we believe are essential to drive development.
Operation Young Vote, or YV, has pledged its support to the church as it leads the much-anticipated dialogue process. OIV Executive Director Ges Nyirenda says the move by the church to pull out of the ZCID-led dialogue is long overdue. Mr. Nyirenda says the invitation of the church and coercing it to work under ZCID was a movement to paint a picture that the process was genuine when in fact not. He has emphasized that the church has the capacity to lead the dialogue process, stating that by nature it has a mandate to undertake dialogue and reconciliation, which it does not on a daily basis. Mr. Nyirenda says it is therefore only right to allow the church to lead the dialogue process.
The move by the church to pull out of the ZCID-led dialogue is long overdue. In any case, it was clear that the invitation of the church and coercing it to work under ZCID-initiated dream was meant to paint a picture that the process was genuine when in fact not. It is inconceivable to compel the church to work under some unclear terms and expect it to be impartial in its outcome. It is only just that the church is allowed to initiate and take charge of the dialogue process. It is quite shocking that some people want to have the incapacitated ZCID to invite the church to the dialogue table when the opposite should be the case, which is proper and acceptable. The only explanation that one can bring about is that this is nothing but selfish agendas. And therefore, as Operation Young Vote, we want to emphasize that the church has the capacity, because by nature, the church has a mandate to undertake dialogue, but also reconciliation, and that's what they do on a day-to-day basis. And Operation Young Vote will endeavor to support all efforts by the church to have a well-meaning dialogue that Zambians and Zambia as a whole will benefit from. The move by
But Economic and Equity Party EEP President Chirufya Tayali has charged that the decision by the church to hijack the national dialogue process is an act of betrayal against political parties. Mr. Tayali has since assured the church of having ulterior motives. He says his party does not think it is right for the church to take over a process it was only invited to be a part of. He says in view of the church's decision to exclude the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue, ZCID, from the process, he doubts the summit of political party leaders will ever take place. Mr. Tayali tells QTV News that if the summit, however, takes place, he foresees the national dialogue process failing to achieve the intended objectives.
We invite them to the party, and what do? They betray us. The church have betrayed the dialogue process. They have betrayed it. We called them to come and chair us, but they come and they say, we are going to take over everything. It is as good as munganda mulelwa no mukashove elo waita bashibukombe ati seni munja fweko lila bashibukombe baisa at I'm going to take over the wife. This is not right. This is what the church has done. We are fighting amongst ourselves. We call our church, come and chair us, and they come in, they say, no, we are going to take over the whole home. Is that what we called you for? That's not what we called you for. And for me, I'm not going to beat about the bush. The church, what they have done, they have betrayed us. And they understand that word better because it is coming from the church. They have betrayed us. We called them. They come and say, we're going to take over. We invite.
The Ministry of Health has noted the need to double the workforce in the health sector from the current 42,630 to 80,274 by training and recruiting an additional 37,644 staff by 2025. Representing Minister of Health, Dr. Chirufya at the launch of the 2019 to 2023 National Human Resources for Health NHRH Strategic Plan, Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary for Administration, Dr. Kenny Malama, said this is the health workforce strength that is required to satisfactorily serve Zambia's projected population of 20.5 million by 2025. Dr. Malama says the huge investment in financial human resources required to achieve the human resource for health self-sufficiency vision is not lost to the ministry, but rather the imminent sacrifice that underpins the ambitious plan to attain human resources for health. He states that while the Ministry of Health is committed to doing its utmost to create jobs for health professionals and recruiting them until the right numbers and balance of skills mix is available to achieve universal health governance and the mission of the 2017 to 2021 National Health Strategic Plan, other sectors must play their part. Dr. Malama says while the implementation of the NHRH Strategic Plan will be financed mostly by National Treasury allocation from the national budget, The National Health Insurance Scheme and income-generated activities of training institutions, there is need for development partners and other stakeholders to closely study the strategic priorities and identify where they can support.
We look forward to a time when Zambia shall have adequate human resource for health, enough even to export to our neighboring countries. And this is what this National Human Resource for Health Strategic Plan is aspiring us to attain. Colleagues, the Human Resource for Health Strategic Plan we are launching today has 7 strategic priorities and objectives and 29 key result areas that embody Zambia's response to the human resource for health absolute shortage. We look forward.
Speaking at the same launch, Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary in charge of training, Professor Elwin Chomba, said the NHRH strategic plan will help train enough quality health workers to help address diseases, outbreaks such as cholera. Professor Chomba said services must be provided in a timely manner and not only when there are disease outbreaks. The Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, ZACI, Business Conference Index has indicated that the closure of businesses every last Saturday of every month to facilitate for a cleanup exercise in the country will negatively affect sales and result in loss of revenue for most businesses in the country. Addressing a media briefing in Lusaka, ZACI President Michael Nyirenda said the closure of business from 8 hours to 11 hours every last Saturday of the month will negatively affect business, considering that the last Saturday of the month is the busiest and most commercially viable day. Mr. Nyirenda says the business index further indicates that the directive, which is backed by a statutory instrument, will result in reduced production and increased overheads as businesses would have to extend production hours. He states that ZACI has since written to the Office of the Vice President asking for some businesses to be allowed to remain open while the cleaning exercise is carried out.
Yes, as ZACI and the business community and other organizations, we have been engaged in government, this through the Minister of Local Government. We are actually even escalating this to the Office of the Vice President in terms of, because part of our role is actually to discuss and negotiate and so that we have an environment that is actually healthy for improvement of business. So we're not leaving it at that. We continuously are discussing. We've been discussing. We've had meetings with the Ministry of Local Government through the Permanent Secretary and the Minister himself. And of course, yes, we've not yet concluded, but we've put our position and we will continue discussing. We hope that we'll get some favorable discussion. As business, yes, we're ready. It's not that we're against keeping our environment clean and green, but it's the modalities. Because, for example, let me just give you an example of behind here, our mall, Underhill. For them, they are cleaning on a daily basis, and that should be the ideal anyway. But if you're going to close one Saturday, what are we saying to business? And that's the position we've taken. Banks, for example, have even a policy that they do open on last Saturday. Now, so there'll be a conflict in that now we've got this law which says close. But as business, we're ready to discuss, and business are ready to look at what can we do together. Maybe places that need closure may be looked at in terms of because it's actually dated. But for Monday, which is clean, which I give an example, why would you like to close it? But maybe those businesses are ready to say, like we did when we were attending to cholera issues, that business came forward to actually contribute. And it can be in all forms. It could be material, it could be vehicles, it could be fuel, it could be human capital.
Meanwhile, the ZACI Business Confidence Index, BCI, has revealed that the general performance of business improved in the second quarter of 2018 compared to the first quarter due to increased liquidity in the economy and favorable copper prices. The BCI survey further reveals that the performance of business worsened in the first quarter of 2018 compared to the fourth quarter of 2017 due to high energy costs, stiff competition from imported goods, decreased maize price, and the cholera outbreak, especially in Lusaka. Government has affirmed its resolve to invest in weather technology. Minister of Transport and Communication Permanent Secretary Mishek Lungu says government is also resolved to invest in climatology. Mr. Lungu says the government has learned lessons from the effects of climate change that hit Zambia in 2016 when the country experienced a prolonged dry spell. He states that investing in weather technology and climatology is the only way government can best inform the people of any changes in the climate and enable them to prepare for such changes. Mr. Lungu was speaking when he opened the 22nd Southern African Regional Climate Outlook Forum, SAROF 22, being held in Lusaka under the theme Improving Regional Climate Early Warning Systems for Sustainable Regional Integration in the SADC region.
May I wish you all a fruitful deliberation as you prepare to issue a rainfall and temperature forecast for the year 2018-2019 season. I also want to appeal to all of you to start thinking of ways to establish and strengthen a regional multi-hazard early warning system. SADC head of delegation has indicated, and let our states support the idea so that we are integrated, not only at a political level, but let's also be integrated in information sharing. As Zambia, we want to make weather information commercial, and we are determined to make weather information commercial.
And speaking at the same event, Africa Union Commission AUC representative Hassan Nyambe observed that Africa cannot continue relying on donors in dealing with the issue of climate change. Mr. Nyambe encouraged government in Africa to instead mobilize domestic resource and invest in meteorological services in terms of infrastructure and capacity building.
Governments need to be able to invest in meteorological as well as hydrological services, be in terms of infrastructure, be in terms of capacity building, so that we can be able to be on par with other parts of the world. But that also is not enough. We need to be able to mobilize domestic resources to be able to do that. We cannot continue to rely only on donors and always be receiving handouts. As a continent, it's high time that we stand together, we mobilize our own resources so that donors will complement our efforts. And I think until we are able to do that, we will not be able to achieve what we had in mind or what we had before us. So basically, that's the message. Unless we work hard, we unite ourselves, we work united, and we are able to put money on the table, we cannot be able to achieve what we require to achieve. Government.
And SADC representative Faka Ndasida disclosed that the three-day Climate Outlook Forum, which will encompass the years 2018 and 2019, will give a review of the impact on El Nino.
During this meeting, we are going to give you a review of the impact of El Nino and La Nina, so that you can have the background when we are talking about El Nino or we are talking about La Nina. What does it stand for? And which strategy should we take to prevent ourselves on the impact of those global, and how those global systems are linked to the SADC climate system? You are aware, Master of Ceremony and Guest of Honor, that our regional economy in SADC are all climate sensitive. In that one we can quote agriculture depend to the climate. Hydrology, water resource management depend to the climate. Energy production depend to the climate. Fishing depend to the climate. So all our economy in the SADC region are climate sensitive. During this
National Association for Medium and Small-Scale Contractors President Mutale Mpepo has encouraged local contractors to perform according to expectation whenever they are given work to do. Mr. Mpepo says this is an opportunity for contractors to provide themselves by performing accordingly. He says it has been the core of the Association for Local Contractors to be engaged at all levels of construction. Mr. Mpepo says how the local contractors will perform affects how they are portrayed, stating that poor performance can deny other local contractors the opportunity to be awarded contracts. Mr. Mpepo states that local contractors have been crying to be given opportunities and that now that government is ready to award them contracts, they should deliver quality work. He has, however, advised politicians to desist from becoming procurement officers and leave the work to the technocrats who understand the work, noting that this also encourages poor performance.
The government is ready. The president is always emphasizing that local contractors should participate. But if we are busy shooting whatever comes on our way for the benefit of the rest of the country, then where are we going?
A total of 3,698 savings groups have been established in 9 provinces where World Vision Zambia is operating, with over 60,000 savers consisting of women and men participating. World Vision Zambia National Director John Hayes says the value of savings now stands at over 21 million kwacha as at the end of June 2018. Speaking during a World Vision Zambia Community Agents Summit dubbed Savings for Transformation Groupings, Mr. Hayes reaffirmed his organization's commitment to supplementing government's efforts in ending poverty in all the communities. We have more in this report.
For many poor communities in rural parts of Zambia, making ends meet is a daily struggle. 4 out of 5 households have no access to formal financial services to help them survive bad times. World Vision recognizes that access to basic financial services could radically improve the lives of the poor people. It is for this reason that World Vision has been promoting savings for transformation in rural vulnerable communities since 2011. Savings groups provides a secure place to save right in the villages and the opportunity to borrow in smaller amounts and on flexible terms.
As I'm talking now, in the last shareout, I was able to buy an oxen. You see, being a Tonga, that is where we mostly put our wealth, and one without that is not counted. So I bought an oxen, so in readiness to change for a female one so that it can reproduce. As of now, I have 14 goats which are there. I'm also a gardener. That is my main hobby. As of last season, I had grown some 779 heads of cabbages, which I sold, and it gave me somewhere around to 5,600.
Like most mothers, Inonge Mkelebai from Mumbwa district in Central Province will stop at nothing to provide for her family.
Ninaona umoyo wameteza ukalira mu community pamoja na banzanga umoyo wenzo olimba bana kwenda ku skulu chezo cholimba bana banga pachanga ine chezo cholimba ninaweza na bana babiri ine bana babiri abatatu wao wenzo bana bakana na babara babiri bana bakana batate wao. So pamina inafika ntau yo enda mu grade 8 chinakala cholimba because bezo konkana kuti ni peze ndrama zolipirira bana. So pamena ganiza mnavla vama saving na bwana joy na masevi namba ku savinga pamene namba ku savinga chikuru chamene emu yanga yenzi yopeza ndrama yolipirira bana banga ku school, especially abamene banakanwa na batate babo. So pamene namba ku savinga baja bana umoyo wolipira ku school kuli ine chinakala chonipepukira. Ende futi sinezo ziba oro mulungu ezo zwa nezo zipasa kuti ate ine bana banga kapena school siwazaisiriza chikuka nezeribe oro hopo oro poyambira but pamene namba ku saving anamba kuchita mashout namboona kuti oh kasi chinthu ni chabwino. So
Kingsley Mpomola, a farmer from Kasama in Northern Province, feels since he joined savings group makes him a breadwinner in the family.
Then my savings food alikunitandiza ku bana ba school. Bana banga sinili kuvutika kulibalipirira ku school. Ngati nilibe nienda na kongola ku saving napeleka ku school then nabweza. Then because of my savings nankalamunga ndine breadwinner mu family yanga because I'm coming from a poor family. So nilikuwa nisa kusunga bana wa my sisters na bana wa my brothers because ya my savings.
World Vision has organized a community agent summit which has drawn participants from 24 districts implementing livelihood programming using savings. World Vision has organized a community agent summit which has drawn participants from 24 districts implementing livelihood programming using 7 groups. The summit will showcase what community agents have done, document emerging good practices, and document critical lessons on their role and what they feel will be key as they focus on scaling savings for transformation groups.
Is that the government is also understands the importance of this and how it fits in. Several government ministers talk to us about savings for transformation. Oh, I'm being told something. And it fits in very clearly with the 7th National Development Plan on financial inclusion and the Sustainable Development Goals. Number 1, okay, so Sustainable Development Goal number 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8. So we don't just do this for the sake of World Vision. We do this for the sake because we know that it's a proven methodology. It changes your lives. It changes the lives of your children.
Makambani Sondilovo, who is World Vision team leader for livelihood, is happy to see over 3,688 savings groups with approximately 60,772 members with over 20 million kwacha in savings.
What is pleasing, like you heard, is how transformative the savings for transformation have been to most of these community members. I think you've seen, as World Vision, we are now happy to be standing at this platform where we have evidence for the work that we have been doing. In the past, when we started, like we said in 2011, we did not have case studies. We did not have people we can show that this whole thing of savings for transformation works.
It is clear that women's economic empowerment is at the heart of solving the challenges to achieving gender equality and sustainable development. Perhaps working together in saving groups may just be one of the cost-effective and simple ways to do so. Favorite Kalando reporting for QTV News in Lusaka. For many.
The Zambia National Union of Teachers ZANUT has observed that the absence of the council at the Teaching Council of Zambia, TCZ, is limiting the performance of the institution. ZANUT Public Relations Manager Joe Kasaka has wondered why an important institution such as the Teaching Council of Zambia could be running without a board for over a year. In an interview with QTV News, Mr. Kasaka said it is not right for the TCZ Secretariat to be performing duties that should be done by the Council. He has since appealed to the General Education Minister David Mabumba to quickly appoint a council in order to enhance the performance of the Teaching Council of Zambia. The Teaching Council of Zambia is a statutory body established by an Act of Parliament, and its mandate includes, among others, to provide for the regulation of teachers, their practice and professional conduct. The TCZ has, however, for the past 1 year, been running without a council, which is supposed to provide policy direction. Chief Mnyukwa Maziopa of the Ngoni-speaking people of Eastern Province has proposed that government engages the local people to help in repairing feeder roads in the area under a food for work arrangement. The traditional leader says the people in his chiefdom are usually in need of relief food, as the small farming activities they engage in are not able to sustain them, especially when they record poor yields. Chief Mnyukwa says he does not want his people to receive food and other things for free, but instead wants them to work for the food. The traditional leader has bemoaned the poor state of the roads in his chiefdom, a situation he says is hindering development and leaving the people behind.
The other challenge is the roads, impassable. You find that many roads, for example, the one that is leading from Chipata to my chiefdom and beyond to Chief Chinunda, hasn't been worked on for the past 4 years. You see, I mean, when we buy vehicles, we want them to last. And those of us who are poor there happen to have vehicles and they don't have anywhere to pass. I think there's need for this government to ensure that roads are done. And I'm not one who, for asking for example, food. Food is in short supply, but we may have be assisted by government, food relief and all those things. I don't want this food relief to be just be given for nothing. We want food for work. We want to work on our roads. People are given food. Then in return, we do the roads. In this way, we are sharing with government. So I'm not just saying no, I just want to see bulldozers, whatever, doing all the work. We can do part of the work. Government can come in and give our relief food. So there are so many problems, challenges, but mostly it's us. The other challenge is
the Phoenix FM Charity Division has donated 25 boxes of clothing and books to the Shane Perry Smith Christian Foundation and Miswa Christian School. Speaking during the handover of the donation, Phoenix FM Public Relations Manager Elizabeth Pemba says the donations came from various members of the public who have joined the cause of helping the needy in society. She says the charity helps, among others, stranded people, the needy, widows and orphans in society. Ms. Pemba has encouraged the recipients of the donations to put the donations to good use. And receiving the donation, Shane Perry Smith Christian Foundation founders and director Christine Smith thanked Phoenix FM for the continued support to the foundation and the school, which has helped many children. The central bank has, to end the news, we recap on stories making headlines once again. The central bank has maintained the monetary policy rate at 9.7%. Economist Oliver Sasa says there is need for the country to come up with a clear debt management strategy. And UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema says his party is ready for unconditional dialogue. On that note, we come to the end of our news. From me, Diana Sumbwe, thank you for watching. God bless.